if you were to pull just any random Ashes of Creation fan out of the fan base and ask them what their favorite aspect or feature of the game is, I would guess 95% of them would say the node system. And I myself have done numerous videos on this channel on nodes. And I've barely made any videos that I didn't at least mention the node system. So obviously it's an extremely important system that we all really want to get right. We want Intrepid to get it right. But here are a few ways where they could get it wrong.
What you think about when you're born into a fight?
Before I get into the video, guys, I just want to remind you guys that I have set a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers by July 9th. That is the day that the visual NDA, the visual portion of the NDA is lifted, and we can all stream the game and show all that stuff. According to YouTube analytics, roughly half of the people who regularly watch my videos are not subscribed, and we're really close. I'm almost to 930, 932, something like that. So we're getting there. So if you're one of those people who watches my videos regularly and you have not subscribed yet, I implore you today, make today the day that you go ahead and make the decision to subscribe. With that being said, let's get right into the video. I see really three ways in which the node systems could go pretty dang wrong. And in this channel, I try not to present problems without also presenting solutions. The first two in here, the solutions are a little bit obvious. The third one being the most likely thing that I think could happen to make the system go wrong. I do have an idea for, and I'm really curious what your guys' ideas will be for solving the same problem. So make sure you stick around to the end of the video to get my solution to the problem. So problem number 3, the thing that I think is the least likely to have happen, is basically that the nodes are not interesting enough. They're too simple. It doesn't engage the player base. Nobody really cares about it. It's not really a big deal. It's a thing that's over there, and it's so simplistic. The content that's locked behind the nodes is not impactful. It just doesn't work anyway at all in the way that we think that it's going to, that Intrepid has told us it's going to. So that would be problem number 3. Like I said, the least likely. Problem number 2, a little more likely, is the opposite. It's too complex. If they made the node system so complex that the average player can't interface with it, can't interact with it, can't understand it, don't know what's going on, have no clue what the level of their current node is, how to check, what benefits there are, what drawbacks to being in a smaller node, don't know about the benefits of the node types, all of these things could lead to only like the really most hardcore players interacting with the node system. And the biggest problem with that is that without the node system, this game is basically Black Desert Online. It's basically Arcade. It's a PvP game that has some PvE elements to it, and it's pretty generic in that way. There are a bunch of other really cool systems, but almost all of them rely on the nodes. The caravans rely on the nodes. The artisan system relies on the nodes. The bounty hunter relies on the nodes. All of it relies on the nodes. So without it, it's kind of a generic PvP MMO. And so if all of these other players, the more casual players, the system is so complicated they're not interacting with it, then even though for the hardcore players, it's not a generic MMO to them because they're doing everything with the nodes, all the casuals, it will be generic to them. It'll just be Black Desert Online. And if it's just Black Desert Online, why don't you go back to Black Desert Online when you've spent 100 hours leveling a character over there already, and you're already established, and all that stuff. So that's a possibility. Now, the solution to those two things is kind of obvious. If it's too simplistic, don't make it a little more complicated than that. If it's too complex, make it a little more simplistic than that. That's pretty simple. But the showstopper here, the number one reason, the thing that I think is the most likely, and I've said this probably in a couple of videos. I know I've said it on a couple of podcasts. A bunch of people have mentioned it to me in my comments. I've had real life friends mention it to me. So the concern is basically that the mega guilds, the mafia guilds, as they were called in the AMA recently. But the biggest guilds will be able to dominate the server, and in particular, for me, when in context of what we're talking about here, they will be able to dominate the nodes, and the nodes will get up to rank 6. 5 of them, there can only be 5 Metropolis nodes on the server. They'll get there, they'll become what they are, and the map will stagnate. And that's basically just the Pareto distribution at work. And then you enter into the situation where there are basically 5 mega guilds that are big enough and strong enough and powerful enough and are having people coming along to suckle at the power teat, and join into their little alliance that they got going on there, that nothing ever changes. It all stays the same, and they have no reason to interfere with each other, because you can't level up your node anymore by knocking down their node, because there's the maximum number of Metropolis nodes. So it's like, why even start a war? And the map just again becomes very stagnant, and at that point it's almost a generic Black Desert Online. Now, there'd be a little more to it than that, because assuming that the complexity of the system is correct, you would still have stuff like the crafting recipes that are locked behind nodes, and the different node types, and all these things, and where you would want to live would be based on the node types and all that stuff. So it would be in there to some degree, but the ever-changing world, the players shape the world, these things that Intrepid is saying that are so appealing and enticing to a lot of people would not be the case. And I really do think that there's a very strong possibility of this, just because you can't fight natural law. And the Pareto distribution essentially is a natural law. So it's like fighting gravity. So I was talking with a couple of people on my Discord, a couple of you viewers. And by the way, those of you who stop in and say hi, thank you guys. Appreciate it. It's always nice getting to chit chat with you guys. I was talking with a couple of my viewers, and we were talking about this problem. We were trying to come up with a solution. And I thought of something after a few minutes, and I presented it to them, and they thought it was a good idea. And then that made me think, well, let's see if we can present this to the community and see what they think, and then potentially we could get Intrepid involved, and maybe we could I could present it to them, and they could look at maybe doing it. So my idea is this: if you put a system in the game, and you may have to not put this system in the game now and actually wait until this is a problem. Maybe their systems that they currently have in place will be enough to stop this from being a problem. And if that is, then great. There's no reason to move on, or no reason to change anything. We'll just play like it is. But if that becomes a problem, maybe in an expansion or something, they could change the rule set just a tiny bit and basically do this. Make it where there are very, very, very powerful skill augments, legendary augments, legendary recipes, like really rare, really powerful stuff, that the only way you can get it is to have a rank 6 node that gets knocked all the way down to 0. And when that happens, it spawns a boss, and then you go kill the boss, and then one lucky person will win whatever the super rare thing is that's really powerful. So that would force the conflict between what were we calling it the 5 families. The person that I was talking to had been watching The Godfather recently, and so they were all talking about the 5 families. So it forced the 5 families to conflict with one another, because they'd be chasing after those special items that only come from de-leveling a rank 6 node all the way down to 0. So that's kind of my idea. That's what I think would be a good idea to kind of force a little bit of that conflict back, and maybe make the world start shifting and changing again, if it gets the 5 guilds basically get too powerful, or 5 alliances, and they make the whole map stagnate. So that's my idea. I want to know, A, what do you guys think of my idea, and B, what ideas do you have? By no means am I saying my idea is perfect. I haven't even given it like all the thought yet, so I'm sure somebody's going to poke holes in it, like where somebody right now is typing, your idea is dumb, and maybe it is. But I want to know what your guys' idea is. I want to know what you think of my idea. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.